Hello everybody. What I would like to go over is equation of a line from a graph. Meaning that if I have a graph, I can look at it and I can be able to write out the actual equation of that line. So I've given two examples here. We'll begin with the one on the left. And the one on the left, we are going to be able to use a slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. How do I know that? I know that because I can clearly identify the y-intercept. That line crosses the y-axis in the middle of four grid squares. It crosses where those four grid squares intersect, right at that point. I do not have to approximate or guess. I clearly know. So if these are all in units of 1, I can identify that y-intercept. So go ahead and see if you can come up with it. All right, so if I just write that out as a coordinate, what's my x value going to be? Well, on the y-axis, if I go up, x is 0. And the actual point on the y-axis is a -2. That is b. b equals a -2. Now I need to find my slope. And remember, slope is the change in y's over the change in x's. Change in y's over the change in x. So I need to identify two spots. What I'm going to do, I've already identified the y-intercept, so now I just need to pick another point on that line where it crosses grid squares. So how about this one right here? We can look at this one. Any point on that line, though, can be used. Remember, slope is the same for this entire line. It is a constant. So no matter what 2 points I pick, I'm always going to get the same slope. So I'll just pick this one. So I look at my change in y's. So my change in y's, I'm heading in the positive direction. So this is the change in y. It is positive. And then I'll find my change in x. And I go across there. And that's my change in x. And it is positive because I was moving to the right. Very good. So my change in y's, let's see, that was 1, 2, 3. So that was 3. And what was my change in x? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. That was 3 also. So my slope is 3 over 3. Well, what's 3 divided by 3? 1. Very good. So I've identified b, and I've identified my slope. So now I can take those two and plug them in. Y equals 1x, and I can write it as plus and minus 2, but I'm just going to simplify and just say minus 2. It looks cleaner. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that 1. I don't like writing 1 in front of any of my variables. So y equals x minus 2. This is the equation of my line. And that was using y equals mx plus b form, the slope-intercept form. Find your y-intercept and then identify your slope. Let's look at the equation on the right, because I can't use just y equals mx plus b. I would have to guess at what my y-intercept is, because notice it does not hit in the middle of four grid squares right on those lines. I would have to guess at what that is, but that's okay. I have a way in which to come up with it, and that is called the point slope form. Meaning, once I know slope and I know 1 point on that line, because again, slope is the same for that entire line. For every point on that line, it will give you the same slope. So I just need to identify 1 point, and I need to identify the slope. So how about we do this point right here? That one's pretty clear. The coordinate for this point is 1, -1, right? No, it is 1, 1. Along the x1, along the y1, 1, 1. Now I have my point, so 1, 1. Now I need to find slope. So I need to be able to find 2 points and count off my slope. So let's start here. Look, that one hits in the middle of those four grid squares, right where the lines intersect. Okay, so I need to calculate my change in y, but I need to find another point. So I'm going to go from here to, let's find where they hit here. There we go. I'm using the same point. So let's do the change in y. Change in y goes down to here. That is my change in y. What direction did I go? Yes, I went negative. So my change in y, that's a negative direction. So a negative change in y, 1, 2, 3. So a negative 3. And then my change in x, what direction am I going? Positive direction. So my change in x is positive, and that was 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have identified my slope. My slope, change in y over the change in x, so a negative 3/4. So let's make sure that we're looking at this. This is going to be my y value, and this is my x value. Okay? X sub 1, all right, like that, y sub 1. That's what these numbers get plugged in for here. This gets plugged in for m. So y minus value of y sub 1, 1 equals, and then my slope, a negative 3/4. And it's x minus, and the value of x sub 1, 1. Now I solve. So that turns into y minus 1 equals a negative 3/4 x plus 3/4. I distributed my negative 3/4. Add 1 to both sides. So what this turns into is 3/4 plus 4/4. 4/4 is the value of 1. My 1's canceled, so I'm left with y equals a negative 3/4 x plus 7/4. Notice, what form did I come back to by using point slope form? I came back to my slope intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, critical thinking whenever we're working. As soon as I look at this line, I should be able to tell that it has a positive slope. And as soon as I look at this line, I should be able to tell that it has negative slope. Whenever I look at this line, I look for my y-intercept. Does it intersect where I can clearly tell the value? Yes. Then I can use y equals mx plus b. When I look at this line and I look for my y-intercept, I cannot clearly tell what it is. Therefore, I should use point slope form. Okay. Real quick review. We covered standard form already. That is ax plus by equals c. We used that to graph using the x and y intercepts. The x-intercept is of the form x, comma 0. Y-intercept is of the form 0, comma y. Slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. B is my y-intercept, 0, comma b. M is my slope. Slope is the change in y's over the change in x's. I will plot my y-intercept and then use slope to locate the next coordinate. Slope gives you direction. If I cannot clearly identify my y-intercept, or I'm only given slope and a point, I use point slope form. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. And you use this when you know the slope and a point on the line. And what it converts to is slope-intercept form. We'll do one quick example. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. X sub 1, y sub 1. So y minus 2 equals 3/2 x minus 4. Y minus 2, distribute my 3/2, so 3/2 x minus, so 3/2 times a negative 4. Well, that becomes 1, and that becomes 2, and that equals a negative 6. Add 2 to both sides. I have y equals 3/2 x minus 4. Alright guys, continue on your homework. Look at your videos from the publishers of how to work your homework. Good luck in your work.